What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined with Boone Cutler, author of Fifth Generation Warfare, which we are in right now. It's going down right now. Boone, man, thanks for joining me again. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting the landslide, bro. I thought they were gonna halt it. Dude, I had bets out and everything.
Dude, I tell you what, I have a little bit more confidence in it because when General Flynn and I, when we drove on his tour across the country, and I've explained this to people, and I love telling the story because it's another one of those indicators that shows we're in this fifth generation of war because we stopped every 200 miles for gas. Okay, that's for gas. Now that doesn't count, stopping for hotels, stopping at the event, stopping for piss breaks, whatever. We stopped quite often, and every time we did, we had a conversation with people. Now I'm talking red states, blue states, across the country twice, down the center of the country once, back across the country, half the country once again. We logged between 15 and 18,000 miles. And every place we stopped, we heard the same exact thing that you saw in the election. The only thing that you really don't see in the election, which is another indicator, is that every place we stopped, the people didn't know that the people at the last stop felt the same way they did.
Wow.
And then we go down the road, and the people at the next stop felt the same way the people did at the last stop. And this went on for 2 months. And it was always the same. We feel like we're being deceived. We're not, the woke agenda is not what it appears to be. We don't agree with what's happening with kids. We don't agree with what's happening with taxes. We don't agree with what's happening with war. We don't agree with what's happening with the border. That was like a deadlock everywhere in the country. And to see the election happen the way it has happened. And I really expected for someone to pull some shenanigans with the down ballot for the
That's what I
House.
meant. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Like I thought it was going to be halted. They had to or do a recount. It was going to be a mess. Give me a reason why I
And it,
wouldn't
and it's
think
and
that.
it well, you should have, and we all should have been suspect to that because that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing. But when you have an overwhelming, and then now I'm starting to see it from the left. I'm seeing people on the left saying, "Hey, I'm an election denier now. I don't believe it
Yeah.
now."
Right. Right.
And
I'm hearing
and
that too.
that's going to become more and more massive. There's going to be, and that's going to be a motivator. That's going to be a motivator for a lot of those people because I'm already seeing their messaging. They're like, this isn't about pouring out into the streets and yelling rah rah. This is about seizing power and how do we do that
And
and
reorganizing grassroots.
reorganizing grassroots, which you're going to see. I mean, I said it before and I'll continue to say it. The only thing that scared me more than Trump losing was Trump winning because there will be a response. And we need to be poised for that response and be cool about it and understand don't be provoked because provocation is not going to work out well for us. We've got to be very, very methodical. We've got to be purposeful in the things that we do. We have to do it with intention. Can't be reactive in any way. That's always foolish. And we've just got to be smart and play the long game. Right now, the right has essentially seized power. And so now it's about maintaining the accountability of those on the right to make sure that they're going to do the things that have been laid out. And this is a different right, as we've seen in the past. It's a lot less uniparty and a lot more purist, a lot more populist. These are important factors because it's going to change things. I mean, when you look at the amount of minorities and females that came out for the right in this last election, it's more than a mandate. I mean, this is truly the will of the people, and they want to see substantive changes. And Trump is against the wall. It's not like he can run again. He is where he is. He's got one term, so he's got nothing to lose. He should
He's
fully
got
go
to be
forward.
aggressive here.
He's got to be aggressive here. He's got to go after all of it. He's got to be able to stand up in 4 years and say, JD Vance is your guy. Elect JD Vance, and it's
Do
because of him
you
and his
believe
help with. Go ahead.
you believe personally that he's our guy,
Do I
JD Vance?
believe personally in the plan that I have heard laid out, which is how he is supposed to bring the right closer to that center of the center of the conservative movement, but including other people. I believe he's meant to do that. I believe he's there to change the party, and I think the party will be more representative of more Americans than what the old Republican Party was.
And he's
and
close
more
friends with Don Jr., isn't he?
very close friends with Don Jr. You know, you can't take away, you know, whenever you're trying to change things in the social space, which equals political capital, right? Um, what you do is you raise certain voices and you silence other voices, or you don't give them as much airtime, and that's what you saw the mainstream media do. You know, it's always, you know, they're always raising this voice, and then they're either degrading or just
Suppressing.
ignoring the other, yeah, suppressing the other voices. And what Elon did was, I mean, we have to give credit where credit's due. Had Elon not bought X and given the opportunity for the voices that were being silenced to be heard, we wouldn't be standing where we are right now. It would have been very easy to do a lot of other things with the smoke and mirrors. So he gets a lot of credit for that. And, you know, the people in his camp who also have supported that, you've got Elon, you've got Peter Thiel, you've got JD Vance, you've got Trump, you've got Flynn, you've got all these people who have supported that, because we are in that fifth generation of war. And if you can't get into the physical domain, and everything you see is constantly being fabricated, it's selective, it's contrived, it can really make you believe that you don't know what reality is. And Elon did a really good job of allowing people's voices to be heard without censorship, without being shadow banned. You know, when he took over that platform, that's a huge
And he set a standard for other platforms as well to have to uphold that, right?
Well, I think it not
Somewhat.
well, we become more segmented, right? Like, I know if I'm on Facebook and I want to say, oh, I love the world, I love my family, all my friends great, happy Veterans Day. Yeah, people will see that. But the moment I post
Well,
anything
don't
about
say it
fifth
on here.
generation, the moment I post about other things,
Yeah.
nobody's going to see it. Okay, so it's kind of, things are becoming more segmented now. If if you want to be able to get reach, you can put out some stuff on IG, and it's going to get reach. Other stuff isn't. If you know, so each one of these platforms is becoming a restaurant with a different type of food. So I'm saying,
Right. And
and
that's how I've treated all my platforms. Everything has its purpose. Everything's different for me. My Rumble is different than my .tv. My .tv is more fringe. A lot of the
yeah,
stuff I put on .tv, I don't want to put out to the public. You know, I just wanted to be kind of just secluded to my subscribers. And then FluffTube, you know, this is just G-rated PG. Well, maybe it's PG-13 now, but don't you think that they're going to resort to some extreme measures? We got 3 months. And they're still in power for those 3 months, although the transition is happening. They can say peaceful transition all they want, but you know as well as I do, handing the keys over of the kingdom is not going to be that easy. I guarantee you, these people are shell shocked. They're thrown back. They're reeling back. They cannot believe they just got their ass floored. I think they're trying to gain their bearings. Right now is a time for them where they're disoriented and they're collecting their thoughts, thinking, damn, what do we do now? Because this can't happen. We're in trouble. They all know their fates are sealed with this guy.
and you're already seeing it in the mainstream news. They're blaming voters. They're doing the same playbook. It's name calling. It's the Trump voters are the uneducated white male.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's anything to degrade, and that's going to continue. I think you're going to see that hot and heavy up until the time of the inauguration, and then they're going to watch, right? You inflame, and then you watch and go, okay, this group over here reacted. Then how do we backfill them? This group over here reacted. How do you backfill them?
Explain that.
Okay,
Because
if I
that's
put
done on
out
purpose. They inflame certain groups on purpose to see which ones they can target, correct?
exactly, that's the testing. So you throw out a message and you go, okay, this message resonated with this group. How did it resonate with this group? What part of the message? Okay, so this group is susceptible to that message. Now, not only are they susceptible to that message, now how do I take resources and backfill that group that's susceptible to the message so they can take what they think and turn it into some sort of mobilization? And you're already seeing this. I saw a report that came out today about how there's a reorganization of the left and how they need to seize power, do these other things. Well, yeah, and it doesn't even need to be the content that group is, or that entity is putting out. It can just be watching the content and where does it resonate. And then once it resonates, wherever it resonates, that's where you backfill the resources, whether it's giving them media assets, whether it's giving them funding, whether it's creating another entity with legal protections just to do nothing but disruption. That's where you do that. And this is doctrine and technique. This just isn't what the left does. This is what
In other
everybody
words,
does.
it's gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, finding out where the gasoline should be delivered to so the fire can grow.
Do you think any desperate measures will be made in these 3 months? Because there's also word out that Kamala Harris's former communications director has proposed that Biden step down within 30 days, allowing Harris to temporarily assume the presidency as a symbolic gesture. What I would think is they're going to try their hardest to get her in there, install her, and then something happens to where she gets some kind of wartime powers. Is that possible?
I think those things. I think those things are possible, but I would see it more as again, it's provocation, provocation, provocation. We've got to be very, very concerned with provocation. It's we wrote about it a lot in session 3. The role of the church, provocation, how to deal with provocation, how to avoid provocation, how to use it as a tool. It's going to be a lot of provocation, and anything that can be a provocation. I'll tell you what scared me is when Kamala came out and said, both of them in their public statements, this is what peaceful transformation of peaceful, transference of power looks like. And I was like, ooh, that feels a little ominous to me.
Yeah,
it feels a little ominous to me. Like, what are they not saying? And I hate to be suspect. I mean, maybe they were just kind-hearted people and believe that, or maybe they're saying, "Hey, we're the bigger person, but now we're going to jam you with something."
Yes, and that's what I think's coming.
Well, yeah, and as long as we have foreign influence in our politicians, as long as politicians have a seat at the table that believe in extremist left ideologies. This is the game. This is simply the game. It's not right versus left anymore. It's globalist versus nationalist. It is those who believe in a sovereign country and those who want to be part of a new world order that doesn't believe in sovereignty. This is really where everything boils down to. And it's not just people on the left. We got people on the right that are as much uniparty and leftist as we do on the left. Maybe not as many, but they're there. And I think we need to start recognizing that for what it is. And by and large, as the election tells us, that's where things are at. And I think people are looking. I think by and large, the majority of Americans want to have their parental rights protected. I think they want to stop the endless wars. I think they want to stop the corruption in the government and the intelligence agencies. I think they want to close down the borders, bring back the sovereignty to the United States. I think they want to bring back the economy and not give all of our money to China for our products and goods. I think this is universal across most Americans. And I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. I really hope that now that those on the right have won this election, they're also continuing to so the fight's not over. It just starts like you're a boxer. The fight doesn't start when you get in the ring. The fight starts months earlier during your training.
All the preparation, yeah.
All the preparation. So
in fact, the week before, you're winding down, you're tapering down, getting ready for it. But don't you believe that the cure has to be greater than the disease? Like whatever he has to do now, it may look extreme to them. To the left, they're going to think, "Wow, this is really extreme," and it's gonna probably piss them off even more, fan the fire even more, and they're going to point at him and say, "I told you, he's that bad man from Germany. Look what he's doing."
Absolutely.
I mean, the mass deportations. What I think is going to happen here is it's going to a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear is going to hit the left. They're going to think that they're being targeted. A lot of the illegal immigrants are going to, I mean, what does this mass deportation look like? And don't you think during that time when he says, all right, it's time to go all in on this, that's when they run certain operations to maybe activate terrorists inside the United States?
Well, look for the 𝗪ci Act on the simple side. I mean, they can activate the terrorists whenever they want. I doubt they would actually do that until Trump is actually in office, if it's coming down that way. To blame him, yeah. But the other side of it is to inflame, to cause more control. Like, say, the cartels. We go after the cartels, and they do some really crazy stuff in Arizona or Texas and New Mexico. Some of the primary places, and then you have to deploy the military. Now he's getting screamed at, fascist, 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 right? Or say you move people that are going to be, I already hear the language. It's not, they're using the term concentration camp for holding areas for illegals that are going to be deported. They're already using the terminology concentration camps.
Right.
Well, as soon as one person dies in custody, as soon as there's any kind of immoral, actions that can be declared of someone that's in custody, that's going to amplify. It's going to amplify. It's going to amplify. And they got to weather those storms, because it's going to pull at people's heartstrings. And that can be, there's a lot of room for psychological actions. All right. 𝗪𝗏, whether deliberate or whether incidental, there's a lot of room for those things with all the things that he wants to do, stopping the war in Ukraine, stopping the war in the Middle East. Every one of these can be spun, can be used with selective information in order to sway a crowd, to make him look bad. But again, if I'm sitting in that seat after everything I've been through, do I care? Because I'm never going to be reelected.
Right.
I can take all the hits I can. My only job is to make sure I get a solid handoff. I'm net positive by the end of my term, so JD can continue to carry the ball. That's going to happen. And everything else, he's got to play the hard roles. I mean, look at Tom Homan. Tom Homan now over, border czar, whatever that means. I'm not a fan of czars, to be honest with you. I think it circumvents things.
Just from my experience, right? I've lived in El Paso, Juarez, Ciudad Juarez my entire life. I've grown on both sides of the border. So if anyone knows about the border, it's me. It's like big time. I did both bad things and good things on both sides of the border. I trained in the boxing gyms in Juarez, and I've done some criminal stuff down there and here, and I know both sides of it very, very well. And I'm not ashamed of my past, but that's just the way you grow up here. And I can tell you that during 2006 to 2013, were massive cartel wars, right? It was like the streets. I don't know if anyone's seen the movie 𝗪𝗏𝗏, but with Benicio del Toro, I lived that. That's right. They filmed it here, and to watch what happened with the cartels' territory wars, and to hear gunshots, and nobody. It's a ghost town. Juarez became a ghost town. Mowing down 60, 70 people at a time. They don't care about civilians. And what I'm worried about here is if this gets to the point where this mass deportations obviously is going to happen, and they're pulling in military-grade weaponry here into the States. I've heard they're going to Arizona, New Mexico. They're preparing. The cartels are preparing for some kind of war. And what is that going to look like? Because I'm going to tell you one thing. They don't care about civilians. If they think someone's in a restaurant, they go mow that whole restaurant down. They don't give a shit. And if that's what I really hope these guys understand the warfare these guys use, which is they don't care about civilian casualties. And if it gets to that point, because we know they're all here and they're controlling both sides of the border, I mean, we have to take that into an account, right?
You declare
psychological warfare.
You declare them a terrorist organization, then you go hit them where they're at. Bottom line, you declare them a terrorist organization.
Right, but if we care about civilian casualties and they don't,
but they care about their own casualties, and if they are declared a terrorist threat, and you end up somewhere south of the border, and it's not about the civilians. It's not about involving civilians. It's about showing overwhelming power, because what they don't have is A-10s. What they don't have is helicopters. What they don't have.
But what would that look like in our cities?
Well, we wouldn't do it in our cities. We do it in their cities.
What if we have? Okay, I understand what you're saying, but they're here.
Oh, they're here, but they're being supplied south to north. So you take out the supply lines, you remove their centers of gravity, and then they dissolve. This is the nature of all these things. So whatever their centers of gravity are, whether it's supply routes, whether it's whether it's their money, all these things. You attack all the things that give them the ability to conduct operations. I'll give you a good example. I've given this example a lot. I am not the best cook in the world. I don't bake anything. That's not my thing. But if I had to, on a bad day, bake a cake, I could go to the store. I could get the cake mix, that one special one for all the dads out there, for all the men, that says add 1 egg, add water, you got a cake.
Right.
Okay. You mix it all together. But if I take out the egg, I don't have a cake. If I take the mix away and I don't put the mix in, I don't have a cake. If I don't put the water in, I don't have a cake. So you want to remove these elements that create their cake. They get no eggs. They get no water. They get no powder.
I understand everything you're saying, but these people, it's like, how do you stop a kamikaze in Pearl Harbor? Like, these people are like that. Like, they're going to go in on missions to like self-delete and do things that are unimaginable, and they'll take out large crowds of people. That's what I'm worried about. They don't care, and they're trained to do that. So we have them here now in our country, and I'm scared that, or I wouldn't say scared, but my concern is once we activate them with this, all right, pack up, everybody, you're getting the hell out of here. Then they go all in, and I think that's when they're going to trigger them. That's when they're going to be activated, and it'll make mud all over his face. This has got to be done surgically, man. It's got to be done in a way that is like we're dissecting. We got to be like you said, but all their shit is here. The military grade weaponry. I talked to guys. They're blowing past ports in semis and telling to stand down, as they know there's weaponry in the military grade weaponry in the semi truck going God knows where. Nobody knows where they even go. And I've seen it here in El Paso. I've seen tunnels that open up into warehouses, and the DEA shows up and everything. And I mean, dude, this is a real threat. I'm just saying that the cartels are not going to play by any rules.
I can't agree with you more, but there's a lot of people out there that have been defeated who were formidable, and I don't think they're more formidable than a lot. I mean, you got the weight of the U.S. military. It's pretty hardcore.
I get it. I'm just saying at what cost? So at civilian cost is this? We got to really weigh here.
Well, I think. Well, they're obviously. I mean, unfortunately, as the nature of war, there's always collateral damage. But I foresee a demilitarized zone between America and Mexico. I mean, that's an easy one. Within that demilitarized zone, you're going to see people checking for tunnels. I mean, looking straight at Israel. Look how they have to do that. But there's space in there to make that happen, and it is about controlling conditions, removing centers of gravity, stopping supply, and also doing a good amount of. I mean, think about where they're getting a lot of their funding. They're getting the funding from CCP. So if you can put that kind of impact on the CCP, it also helps. Will it be easy? No. Will it suck? Yes. But what sucks more? To do nothing. So we're going to do what sucks, but we're not going to do what sucks more.
First and foremost, they got to shut down the border, close it completely, correct?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's, as by this mandate, I don't think there's too many people in the United States that don't think that's a good idea. It needs to happen right now.
Right. Yeah. And who wouldn't disagree with that?
And the left completely ignored the border.
Right.
I mean,
it was a free for all, and there was funding bringing these people in by the hundreds and thousands. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean,
and the messaging, they never addressed in any of their messaging, like, hey, we're gonna shut down the border or anything else, because how could they? Because they gave this tacit approval for this rush, to come in. They really had no.
But when you say that was all part of the agenda to take down America anyway?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. And then
absolutely. And I think Americans see it. Like, I go back to traveling across the country, stopping every 200 miles for gas, which I don't know too many people who have done that. And it was the same way every single place. Like I said, the biggest thing that I could pull away from that was not just that everybody was on the same sheet of music, but the scary part that everybody didn't know they were on the same sheet of music. But now, after looking at this election, now everybody knows that everybody else was on the same sheet of music. And that's something that really should be amplified.
So let me ask you this, Boone. What do you think he's going to do his first day of office? What is it that he's going to implement the first day of office to where he's going to look like a dictator, a tyrannical dictator? What do you think he's going to do? No
matter what he does, that messaging is going to continue.
Right.
But the good thing is the American people aren't buying it. They didn't buy the racist, misogynist,
right,
rhetoric. They didn't buy it, but they're still going to push that message because that's their target audience. but by and large, the majority doesn't buy it. And then the majority of people, I think he's going to do everything he can to fix the economy right away because people are going to feel that. I think he's going to do everything he can to shut down the border right away. I think he's going to have a cabinet that is loyal to him in ways that he has not had in the past because there is such a mandate. So
Don't
that's
you think though?
those are the big
All
ones.
don't you think all these swamp rats need to be uprooted, never to come back again? I think this has got to be an effort to
He's got to
completely.
revamp the DOJ and he's got to go after the people who have misused the law.
But they're
This
going to
is
stop
and
him at every turn.
of course they're going to say he's a fascist. They're going to say he's weaponizing the DOJ, and we've got but I think the people are smart enough. I mean, he's still sitting on what 34 felony convictions that he's supposed to.
Isn't he supposed to get sentenced this month at some point?
He is supposed to be sentenced on 33 or 34 felony convictions.
When is that? It's this month, right? It's like
I think it's
days.
the 23rd. Yeah, I think it's the 23rd.
Wow.
And that's still out there. That is legitimately still out there. And people are saying what they suspect will happen and everything else, but I don't know what's going to happen with that.
But
you know what I mean?
Jack Smith had to put it on ice.
No, that's not. That's for his other cases.
Right,
that's
right.
not for the one that's already been. He's already got convictions for it. That's
right.
for the cases that he's trying to bring forward. That's already on ice. That's not going to go anywhere.
Do you think they could sentence him? I don't see how this is plausible, but do you think it can happen?
I really, who does know? Because if let's red team it, if you're sitting in that position, what's going to have the greater impact?
Right.
Because if you sentence him, that's going to galvanize the people even more to be behind JD Vance to do whatever needs to be done. So that move doesn't play.
But you trust JD Vance.
Yeah, I'm going to have to trust him right now, and until I see something differently, and in everything that's happening, I'm going to stick with that, and I think everybody else should too. There's going to be rumors, and I'll understand the origination, the genesis of most of that messaging comes from someone who's trying to disrupt the unity of a group. So be aware of that. And it's also, there's a fair amount of people on social media that say things like that, and they include key figures in it because they're just trying to increase their engagement because they're blue checked and that's how they make money.
Yeah.
They're tabloids for hire. There's nothing more than that. So I've seen that. I see people, oh, this person must be working for this organization or that organization. I'm like, no, probably they're just trying to increase engagement. And if they inflame something around this one person, more people show up and say, fuck you. And they click on stuff, and that's all it is. It's nothing more than that. So protect your mind, control your emotions, right? I get back to that all the time. But you're going to continue to see that stuff because that's easy. I do trust Vance. I do trust Tom Holman. I do trust the people that he's putting in place. There is talk in the background. Oh, you got to worry about his closest advisors because they might not have his best interest at hand. But I mean, those closest advisors also have got him this far. And I don't think it's for no reason. I think we will see a different Trump. I think he'll be more measured, but he doesn't have to fight for his position anymore. He has fought for the position that he has. He doesn't have to fight to maintain it, and he's not going to maintain it after 4 years. So why not just be the measured, benevolent leader that he can be, set everything up for JD, put everything in place, take all the hard hits so JD doesn't have to. If I was in that position, I think that's what I would do. And I think a lot of people would. I mean, what would you do?
100%. But I mean, we both can agree that these 3 months are very critical. These 3 months are very sensitive, very critical. They're liable to do anything.
They're liable to do anything, but I don't think any of it'll stick.
Yeah, I don't either. I think we have the high ground.
I think we have the high ground. They're going to continue to inflame. They're going to continue to assess where they need to put resources, and that happens through testing of the messaging. That's going to continue to happen because that's just cognitive warfare at its basic. But other than that, I don't think anything will stick. I think it's all about getting in position for the messaging that will continue and defining the target audiences for those messages that will continue beyond Trump's 4 years.
Let's talk about General Flynn's little brother stepping down. There's a lot of hearsay out there, people talking. I've already gotten emails about this, like, oh, he's deep state, because there's a lot of people that are against Flynn, right? I get it all the time. I'm part of the Flynn network, and I get this shit constantly. And it's like, You have to help me here, bro, because you're involved with Flynn.
Listen, I can say without a doubt that I guess I am in the Flynn network. I've co-authored 3 books
Yeah.
with him. I've spent more time with him on the road than most people. We talk nearly every day. It's one of those things where that's just going to continue. Again, look at the clickbaiters. There's probably a lot of that stuff coming out from the
Oh, I
clickbaiters.
guarantee probably in the comments right now they're going to go crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to happen. But you know, General Charles Flynn has done amazing jobs in PACOM. He's done amazing jobs throughout his entire career. He's got his 4th star, and I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up in this administration. Maybe not initially, maybe not though. Maybe he's the second round guy. Maybe he needs to get a little bit of rest now, do a little bit of transition, look
So
at
he
things.
could just be wanting to step down because, hey, man, he's tired.
The guy's been in the military a long time.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And it's one of those things that, I mean, I don't know when he said he was going to retire, but I know it was probably before the election because it takes time to do that stuff. So it may very well have been something that was already, previously scheduled for him to do. But I would not be surprised if he showed up in the administration. I think there'd be a lot of good places for him. I think right now, especially, first of all, across Indo-PACOM, okay, we're talking Indonesia, Asia, including China. He's built wonderful relationships there. And those relationships, diplomatically would have to be nurtured right now, especially if we're going to deal with China. He has the most current look at what the weaknesses of China are. He has the most current look on where their vulnerabilities are, how they can be controlled, what their tolerances are, where the tolerances are at. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm completely shocked that China never went after Taiwan.
Me too.
During this period of time. That says something. Like what was it? I mean, what was it? What is it that we all thought you had the advantage to make that happen, and you had the opportunity to make that happen, and you didn't? Well, there's a reason for that. And I think those reasons are maybe something for us to speculate on. But I know there's a guy with 4 stars on his shoulders with the last name of Flynn who knows exactly what those reasons are.
Wow.
And and that's something that can be leveraged. And I don't think anybody knows it better than he does. So for those who are out there wondering about him, you should be very accepting of him coming into this administration and back him as much as humanly possible, obviously with the accountability that accountability and oversight that every person should have in an administration. But, don't count him out, and don't start, crushing things that you really don't know a whole lot about.
Right.
But he knows. He's sitting on the knowledge, and he's sitting with positive relationships in those areas that really need to be cultivated.
Trump has a huge task ahead of him. He has to clean up not only foreign affairs, World War III, almost ready to ignite, but here domestically, everything that's happening here. And it's going to be like pulling these swamp rats out of here. So these 4 years in my mind, has to be nothing but cleaning up the mess that Biden left.
I think it's it is. It's cleaning up, and it's also establishing the conditions for long-term change. Establishing those conditions, like the DOJ.
Is to make the job easier for the next president that comes in.
Right. Well, also to correct not just what's happened under Biden, but what's happened in we have
that it never happens again.
Right. And that's about controlling conditions. You've got that whole middle swath of quote unquote supervisors and leadership across different agencies that really could probably just go away. They could probably just go away. We need to set that, it's like everything, take the example of your home. You buy a home and it's 2,000 square foot, and you just moved from a house that was 1,100 square feet. And you're like, wow, look at all this room. But after a few years, you put this over here, you put that over there. Now you got no space. Let's go put that in the garage. And then the garage gets full. At some point in time, you got to clean your house. You got to throw shit away.
Right.
You got to realize the value of the reason you moved from 1,100 square feet to 2,000 square feet is because you wanted more room. You want to be able to spread out. You wanted things organized. So we're in that place right now. We've got too much shit in the garage. We've got too much stacked up next to the bed. There's too much shit underneath the kitchen counter. You know, the dishwasher needs to be fixed. You know, this is where we're at right now. And we've
So
got to do
whatever
it at the
whatever
same
cleanup
time.
looks like, it needs to happen. We got to do it now. As
Where it's
aggressive as it may look, we can't worry about what they think. We just got to do it. Go in and utilize, implement, and make it happen. We got to just do it.
everybody works at least 5 days a week. We're going to have to come in on Saturday, do some extra work to get the house clean.
Boone, I appreciate you, man. I won't take any more of your time. Where do people find you, man?
Find me anywhere or leave me alone. I don't care either way. I'm happy to always talk with people. I'm home a little bit more now. I just got back from North Carolina. I was out there doing the hurricane relief stuff, and I want to tell everybody, don't forget about the people in North Carolina and Tennessee that were affected by that hurricane. It's still very, very significant. The water in that area is bad. They do not have enough water. There's going to be that's going to be a long time reconstruction. And so I don't want people to forget about the people in North Carolina and Tennessee that were affected by that hurricane.
I recognize the Serpico with Al Pacino, and I see. And hold on, is that Streets of Fire, dude?
Streets
The
of Fire.
hold on, next to Unforgiven. There's Patton, Unforgiven, and then that
Right
one's
here? Eddie and the Cruisers, man.
Yeah, I said it. I said it before. I said it. I got it right.
You got it right.
All right, cool, dude. That's
and then we
like
got War of the Worlds, Mission Impossible, Matrix down here.
Lethal Weapon. What are those? Are those the albums, or what is that, dude?
Yeah, they're the soundtracks to the movies.
That's pretty cool.
On vinyl. I got Funkadelic down here, Free Your Mind, Your Ass Will Follow. I got back here Midnight Express, Matrix, all good stuff.
Showing your age, homie.
These are classics. I am showing my age, but it's one of those things where I wanted to have kind of my podcast set would be, I got this thing that changes colors to keep everybody's squirrel attention down. I got a couple things here. General Flynn gave me this right here, this Sasquatch doll or Sasquatch figurine. I guess they're not dolls because anyway, he gave that to me because he said it looks like me, which was very nice of him. But I get this thing down right here. This was made by a buddy of mine.
Punisher. Right.
Well,
it also means other things, but
yeah.
Then you got Mad Max. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I got Mad Max.
Lethal Weapon.
But I just want to change it up a little bit, I mean,
yeah.
Like
I need to do
that.
that.
Like these are classics. Like who wouldn't go watch Eddie and the Cruisers on a bad day?
Right.
Who doesn't identify with the Unforgiven?
So wait, I mean? that actor Eddie and the Cruisers, I've only remember him in two movies. Eddie and the
Michael
Cruisers,
𝗶𝗃, yeah,
and Streets of Fire. Those were his two big movies, right?
Yeah.
And then never heard from him again.
He was the flavor of the month back in those years, and then, it went on. But you got to admit, Eddie and the Cruisers 2 was cool, but not that great. You can't really, you can't do it. You can't do a second Eddie and the Cruisers. Make him die, come back to life, and he's got a mustache now. Nobody recognizes him.
Yeah,
But that was anyway. I love the old movies.
Fame is a vapor, man. Only a few people can last, man. Like Brad Pitt or whatever, but I totally remember that guy, man. Streets of Fire, Eddie and the Cruisers. Wow. Anyway,
people should go watch Serpico too, man. Serpico was a great film. It's one man's fight against corruption,
right?
And that's so.
Was it a true story or was it not a true story?
True story.
Was it? Yeah.
True story. Yeah.
Damn. Well, we're in our own fight, right? Each and every one of us. This is big. This is like the big show right here.
But brother, can I tell you this? This is important, and it's real from my heart.
Yeah.
The work that you're doing day in and day out is something that really pales in comparison to a lot of people who try to do what you do, because you're always there. You are bringing up the topics. You do ask the hard questions. You do bring on the fringe stuff and look at it with a critiquing eye, which is good because people have to do that. I want people to talk about that stuff because we have to really sort things out. And I just want to thank you for doing a great job, always having me on. We have great conversations. You always pick up the phone when I call, and I appreciate you as a friend, and I appreciate you for what you're doing.
Wow, Boone, that means a lot to me, man. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of feel like after this Trump win, I'm like, man, I hope I played at least a little bit of a part in there. You know what I mean? Because I kind of feel like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
You did. Like, you absolutely played a part, and I can tell. And I've gotten feedback. Like there's been a lot of people who have told me, "Hey, I saw you on Nino's show,"
wow.
and I thought that's cool because I listened to that feedback, and the feedback when I come on your shows, people say, that we have good conversations about stuff that people aren't really talking about because they're concerned about saying things that they think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so by you giving people a venue to say the things that other people are thinking, it does tremendous good. I can't, it's the sum of all the parts. And you're definitely one of the parts that got Trump into office.
Wow. Thank you, Boone. Damn, that made me feel better today. I had a rough day today too.
So,
I
you're doing
appreciate you,
great.
Boone, man. You're welcome anytime, man. And tell everyone, tell the whole Flynn network I said hello.
Well, you tell them you're in the network. I mean, everybody
I'm
says
in the
it, right?
network, so okay, yeah. Oh man, I appreciate it, Boone. Man, let's stay in touch and let's bring you on again real soon. I mean,
Let's
as
do it.
this develops, because I think these hours, days, weeks, months up until inauguration, man, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen, but I tell everybody, and I say it over and over again: protect your mind, control your emotions, always be cool. Realize that provocation will be used against you every single time. Don't fall into the trap of provocation. Do not fall
Boom.
into that trap. It will hurt literally everybody.
Got it. Words of wisdom right there, folks. Thank you, Boone. Appreciate you, my man.